Welcome to today's podcast called The Close with One Untold CEO Stories. Today we have Luke Hammond, who's going to walk through what it's been like to be on a journey and be on yachts and go around the world and service the top one percenters that are looking for an excursion and an experience that almost money can't buy in a way. And he's going to share some stories from life that help us understand sales better in a way to serve people and go from that pushy, challenging, just following up experience to people are then seeking you because they have a sense of who you are and they want it validated that they go, yes, this is the person I should talk with. So buckle in, grab a cup of coffee, 2 bowls of popcorn. This one is a tearjerker. Thank you, Luke. Oh man, are you back home with your family?
Yes, I'm back in Florida, but the boat is I'm still on the boat. So the boat's here in Florida. So whilst it's here, I'm helping them out. I'm home every afternoon.
That's tremendous. What is
I
this? Go ahead.
I was going to say, how was the weekend?
Oh, thank you for asking. Tremendous, tremendous quality time with the kids. As you know, it's incredible. Every minute that I have with them, it's almost like I can't wait to wake up and start the day, which might sound a little weird to the audience. Wait, wouldn't you rather sleep more and relax before you get like bombarded by 4 kids? I'm like, no, I do need a cup of coffee, but other than that, once I've got that, I can get my bearings for the day. And speaking of bearings, you're a captain that's just come ashore from an experience and you get to be with your kids. Like where does that story actually begin of you becoming who you are now and doing the great things that you do so that your family can go, I'm proud of dad. I'm proud of Luke.
Well, I think the context for the whole thing was family was, I think in the back of your head, you know you want to have a family at some point. Whether or not you do is a different story. But when I met my other half, who was also in the yachting space at the time, we kind of clicked. And we've been together since I met her on her birthday in 2008. So we've been together for a minute. But what I'd realized is once we found out we were having kids, my courtesy of my upbringing, my dad showed me how not to be a parent. So it was really easy for me to turn around and just do the exact opposite. I was like, so if I just do that, then I'm going to come out all right. My kids will come out all right. Uh, and lucky enough, when it comes to my wife, she came from a family that's still together, and they were doing our Friday night cocktail hour and fun stuff, and just the happy family stuff. So we bring both sides to the table, which is the perspective that I think I needed and my kids need, so we can show them both sides, and they're turning out all right. But from to the point of the captain stuff, the yachting world or being a seafarer takes you away from home a lot. So in the beginning, I was probably away well over 50% of their life, out of the picture for like months on end. And the minute you realize you're being a dad, and this is where I kind of resonated with you and being away from the kids, is that whilst it's hard at the beginning, it's actually not that bad. But as they get older, it's kind of like an emotional blackmail. And it's just like for every time you leave, it's just like one little jab and another jab, and each jab just gets harder and harder. And it's like, we were in tears on multiple occasions. And it's just, I want it, if you're going to be a parent, be a parent. I wanted to be around for my kids. So that's the true motivation to being more land based than being at sea.
I sort of feel like I'm a little bit lost at sea when I'm between Green Bay and Colorado where the 4 kids are, because every other week I'm on this journey from one part of the family to the other. And I always want to be present for everyone. And it makes me kind of be like Gumby, where I'm just stretched. And there's times when I might just feel like I'm gonna snap. And it's a little scary because you want to just be everything for everyone at every moment. And there is no perfect person that can do that. We always fall flat, and something happens where it's just not the perfect moment that we wanted. And that's just, it's not realistic for
Let's
us.
well, I'll give you a perfect example. Like I've been doing this for, my eldest is 14, my youngest is 11, and I've been doing this, navigating this kind of idea for years and years. So it doesn't make me a pro at it, but I know even now I still, fall on my butt, so to speak. I was down island for a month. I flew up for a weekend. That entire weekend, I wasn't present because of work or because of something else, because I was stressing and thinking about things. And you could see all they wanted was me. And my wife picked up on it. I picked up on it, went back down, come back up. And, this time around, it's like, oh, wow, you're a completely different person. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but I think your gut ends up telling you that what's important.
And that gut of what's important is almost like what we were talking about before, is when you show up on a conversation, a sales call with someone that you've never met before, how can you immediately become that gut feeling from the other person that they trust you and they want to work with you? They want to hire you
Mm,
to solve their problem, that they would pay money to go away. And there's so many options out there. And they're like, who do I go with? Who do I trust? And who's not salesy and pushy
mhm,
that will get what I need? And you relayed this story before of when somebody is part of an excursion, experience on a yacht, knowing what it is they like is the lotion, what they like is the food, what they like is the experience. So the experience is there before they get there. That's
mhm,
really what sales is they can see that you're already serving and supporting them, so that someone could go, Luke has got the way, he's got the yacht, he's got the service, whatever it is that they go, I want that. They magnetically go to you. You don't have to pitch all these emails and cold messages. It's actually a function of you going, well, based upon where I'm going and what's happening next, let's figure out what you have and whether I can even serve you or not, because I'm serving all these others and you have to be the right fit for me.
yes, that is, I think that's more than anything else because I would say if you're physically trying to sell someone, you're behind the eight ball. You've lost. Um, any good relationship or any good instance that you've got is based on rapport. It's based on you being relatable to the other person, you know. And when you come in, you see it anybody, like if someone really needs to sell you something, there's a nervous energy and you can see they're desperate. And you're like, whilst it might be a great product,
Yeah.
it's not for me. But I've found that with any good person, if I can turn around, I can relate to them, even if their product's not 100% of what I need, but if it's going to do what it needs to do all day, every day, I will have that person in the mix more often than not. Just because I know that one, I know who they are. I vibe with them, so to speak. They're on my level. Um, and also at the same time, they do and say what they're supposed to be doing.
And
You're gonna
that,
follow through. You have to follow through.
yes, and I think that's almost the classic example of the example of the marshmallow, the cookie story. And I don't know if you're familiar with this one, where a researcher decided, I'm going to sit at a table with a child and I'm going to give them a plate. Here's a cookie or marshmallow or whatever. If you don't, I'm going to go away. And if you don't eat this when I get back, I'm going to give you two cookies or two marshmallows. But if you eat it, when I get back, you won't get another one. And so it's the delayed satisfaction. I think of this as sort of the jungle closer, in that it's a survival piece. If somebody can't, if they feel like they're needy and they can't survive, they're just going to grab the cookie. But the
Mm-hmm.
person that has overabundance is going to go, I'm going to serve, I'm going to wait, I'm going to take care of you. And I know I'll get this delayed gratification of a commission after I serve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of the close with mindset, is that by the end of that first call, they'll know I can vibe with this person. I trust this person. And this is probably almost a dead ringer for your world. You could let them captain the ship, or they would let you captain the ship immediately. And
Mhm.
there would be so much trust that they would go, okay, looks like you've got it. I'm going to go to bed now and I'll see you in the morning.
It's counterintuitive sometimes because I think you get in a, I think, and I think this applies to everybody. It's like a learning curve, right? You can sit in there and you've been tasked with X, and X needs to go to market, and you feel that you have to pitch every single person. But the minute you realize that nobody needs your product, okay, or how else are supposed to get to this person? It's like, okay, well, let's meet them where they are. And I don't know how many times I've been sold on something was like I didn't need it, wasn't even thinking about it. And then all of a sudden they go, they put it in a way where it's like, what have you got going on? And like, oh, I can actually really use that or that service or that product or that person. And it's the same thing with a boat. You take yachting as an example. Nobody needs a yacht in any way, shape, or form. Financially, it's the stupidest move that any person could make. But experience wise, emotionally, all that sort of stuff, I would have one all day, every day. And it's based on the only reason that people really enjoy it is because of the experience that you get out of it. But it's the people and it's the rapport. And that's what makes something, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's the people that we're dealing with and interacting with. And at the end of the day, it's a trade of services and time. And I want to work with people that I like, and I will have you around and I will pay you money, good money.
Wow. I was in, I think it's Monaco. I'm not sure. It's somewhere over a small country in Europe, and it's on a port, and there's always yachts outside
Monaco.
of it. Is it Monaco?
Mhm.
And it kind of reminded me of my experience in working with Amazon, in that I wrote an analyst report, and then Amazon was number 5 in e-commerce back then on my scorecard. And I was working at a small analyst company, not even like Gartner or Forrester. And the report somehow got in the hands of Jeff Bezos or someone there, and they called Julio, the founder of the company, and Julio said it's Jill and Jill's team. And Jill taps on my shoulder, Mark, we're going to Amazon. Okay. Why? Well, they saw your report and they've got a few questions. I was like, okay, great. Go out there. Everyone, all the other analysts are like, you get to go to see Amazon? I'm like, yeah, hopefully I don't mess this one up. And I get out there and I'm just answering questions, telling them about how about you have some video testimonials and then some other things that we all take for granted today. How about you make your checkout like this rather than that? And at the end of the day, on the agenda, it said Jeff Bezos for dinner. I'm like, this is great. Can't wait to meet him. So I'm sitting on the waterfront in Seattle and with Jill, and I'm a Boston guy. I'm like, I can't get the chowder or anything like that. I'm going to get something official from the Pacific Ocean. So I'm thinking about the salmon, and then 5 minutes go by. Okay, no worries. 10 minutes go by. And then after 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the front of the restaurant. And I said, hey, when Jeff comes, Mark and Jill are over there. And she looks at me and she's like, oh, he can't make it tonight, but please have dinner on him. And I was like, oh, wow. Biggest sales mistake of my life happened right then. When I went back to the table with Jill, I said, Jill, Jeff can't make it tonight. I'm not going to take the overnight red eye back to Boston. What's the name of the person that booked this meeting? Name or number? I will call right now and say, Mark thought of some additional things that Amazon might want to consider to improve its e commerce experience. What's better for Jeff tomorrow? 10 or 2? I would have found a way to just provide more value and meet him and serve him. And so a colleague of mine listening to this story said, Mark, this story isn't over yet. One day, a company that you advise and coach to get to its revenue number, maybe Amazon will want to buy it and bring it into its ecosystem. And I said, aha, it's part of one of the terms of signing the agreement. I'd like to meet with Jeff on one of his yachts, see him face to face, and be like, hey, sorry we missed each other for dinner. Shall we have a bite now? I don't
So
know. That's my Amazon story.
that's true though. It's, but I think also it's really difficult for people. Um, you get so entrenched with what you do on a day-to-day basis, and you have your core set of skills, um, that that you're leaving money on the table, but you're not necessarily going to know what it is or how you're supposed to go around it. And I think I told you before, I have this, and I think I stole it from someone, but you can't read the label when you're inside the jar. So I think a lot of times to our own benefit, it takes, or it's useful to bring somebody in that you can relate to on a one-on-one basis, but they can also see you where you are and help guide you. They're not telling you what to do, but they're just sort of saying, look, here's instances of what I see right now. You're doing X, Y, Z. There could be monumental improvements that could happen here that could change your top line, improve profitability, and scale you, get you from where you need to be. But if you're not having the conversations, or if you're not curious about getting someone in the mix to at least have that chat and go, where could I be improving? It doesn't make you a bad person, like in no way, shape, or form. And that was, it's a light bulb moment for me and everybody else that I've spoken with. you know be curious, get that light bulb moment, like, oh, okay, I could be doing this.
I love that you brought that up because we're in this era of AI equations and AI quotients. You just hit the nail on the head. I often call this the CQ, which is the curiosity quotient.
Mhm.
If we don't bring extreme curiosity to all the moments that we have, we're missing out on things we don't even know we're missing out on. It's sort of the unknown unknown. And some of the best salespeople are really curious about, well, what is going on? Why is that going on? What do you want to have different? Like, and why did you join today's call? AI can't actually sense all the things that we're thinking and worrying about and wanting to have happen. There's hints of it, but it's never going to know the unknown. And if it doesn't know what to ask as the unknown unknown, it's not really going to serve people well. And in my experience, close rates have gone down because people are relying on it and they're not using curiosity to bring people into the pipeline where people call you and say, Luke, I heard about that experience that you had for this other millionaire or billionaire that had this great experience with you. Could you bring me to there? If that's not happening, then you're doing it the wrong way.
There's it, and I think you've probably seen this as well, and you see it when you talk to people. It's like, regardless of the size of the business, there's always going to be room for improvement, and that's where the curiosity part comes in. I see AI as being a huge benefit on a number of different levels from a business standpoint. But AI is not going to be useful to someone unless you have some version of structure, or sort of, a roadmap or a milestone or whatever you want to go for, or a sort of like a business vision. Because you see it where, like, independently within the business, there's disconnects between each department for whatever reason, or you get conflicting departments that need each other that don't want to talk because my job's more important than yours, and there's no association between the two. So um, it's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. It's just that, hey, it's now, be curious. How can we improve it? How can we change? How can we change the status quo? How can we create job security for every individual within the business, but then also make the business profitable where everybody wins? And I think I would say, the businesses that are able to do that shift from their current status into one where it's like everybody, and everybody's heading in a sort of global direction, and there's profit, and everybody's coming to work happy.
Yes.
That's going to be they're going to be the outliers in their space, so to speak.
Yes. And you remind me of a situation when I was hired at a company that had been number one and it slipped to 2, 3, and 4, and then it actually got to 6. And along the way, I realized unless we do something really meaningful, we're just going to keep sliding.
Mhm.
And I looked at the CEO and thought about things and looked at the market, and I realized we were missing out on something really important. And when I introduced the new thing, it was a piece of capital equipment that cost $50,000. The company said, we don't know how to sell that. We know how to give it away for free, but we don't know how to sell it. And I was like, oh, wow. Our culture and our vision and everyone working together isn't quite ready. So it was creating the vision and the culture and the win for all the departments to go, if we do all these things together, we don't just sell one, we sell multiple. And I had said to the sales team, here's BMW Series 6 car. Here's the keys. Whoever sells the most gets this car. And all departments and all groups were fired up about, we're going to sell this. We're going to sell a lot of them. And people will go home, people, not patients, go home cancer free, where the doctors cut it out and got rid of it all because they beamed it out with an argon beam. And it was fascinating to see them go from we're never going to get out of number 6 or 7 to we're going to win. That company went from 5% market share to probably 90 in a matter of 5 or 6 years. And that Beamer product is still on the market today to serve people that were just going home with something that was left behind that the doctors didn't know I missed a piece. It's remarkable to be part of a company that is open to new ideas and wants to all work together. It's hard to set that up. I think it takes an ignition spark of someone that's curious, to use your words, to turn
Mm.
things around and getting fired up to drive to the office. If you were to ask people, are you excited to go to work today? If it's not an 8, 9, or a 10, something's really wrong.
But that's the curiosity standpoint. I'll give you a perfect example. Um, Originally, my earlier years, like I look young anyways, so I can't win that battle of turning around and saying it's been years. But um, back in the 90s, it was hospitality and tourism. So everything from bars and nightclubs, big venue places, to adventure camping tours, right? So I've been people orientated my entire life. There's been elements of management as well. But the luxury yachting space, what makes this different is you are 24/7 with the people that you work and live with. So it's bunk beds on a luxury yacht, and you're a grown ass adult and you're sitting there and you're sleeping in a bunk bed. It's hard, but what it does teach you is you're creating a version of community, but you're also in business and you're working. So the reason I bring that up, when it comes to dealing with other people within the business, if you don't have a version of continuity, it doesn't work. And when you're in the hospitality space where you're delivering 6-star service, the everybody has an EQ radar. And if you're sitting around people that are serving you or helping you that are feeling slighted, um, there's something going on in their environment, there's something going on at home, there's something negative that's affecting that person, it affects a lot more people. And so curating an environment where people are doing extended hours and they're living on top of each other and they're working for weeks on end sometimes, 14, 16, 18-hour days, people are going to crack. But what I've found is that within that whole thing, um, one, you need to cater to the person. You've got to cater. Every individual employee is going to be a unique person. They've got their own skill sets. But when you're building that business out and you're building out your team and you're building out your people, if you cater to that person and you put that person in a department or in an environment where they're built to be a rocket, you will get a rocket. But if you put that person in a role where their personality doesn't align with that idea or that thought or that process, it's going to be like chewing glass. You're going to get zero output. But if you put that person in an environment where they're just like, I could do this all day, every day, Mark, I could just give me 18 hours. There's not enough hours in the days. I just want to keep going. You're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, go.
How do I get
You
more of you?
go. Yeah, but it's making those environments. And the unfortunate part is it's like everybody's been burnt. And I don't think many people have been in an environment where they've had control of the people around them. And when you build that and you build that space, people want to come to you and work for you. People's their outputs through the roof. The end result's amazing. It's like you said, to your words, magnetic. Whether it's the product, whether it's the people, whether it's the environment, the whole gamut, and you will. It's like you need more people, you need more of anything. Just turn the tap and it's there.
That magnetic piece is interesting. I was through a referral of someone that I met on LinkedIn. This was fascinating. I met someone that was in the medical technology space, and I said, who do you know that would need or benefit from sales coaching that could take their team of D, C, B, and A players to just consistent A, where they show up and they want to show up and they're not pushy, but everyone just feels like, yeah, I trust that person. So I got a referral and I met with a guy named Travis. And Travis and Shelby were like, we got all these people that are taking these calls and helping people. Well, we've got some that are like a 70% close rate and some that are 90. Can you make the whole team better? I said, yes, but I need to meet your team. And after meeting the team and having one conversation with them, I realized, ooh, they are all wanting and needing something different from the company. And they're also wanting to give something different to the company. And so there's a mismatch where some people are magnetically excited, and that was the one person with the 90% closed. And then there was another person, super intelligent, but they had a low close rate. It wasn't until I figured out he wanted to do something else and create a landscaping business, create a food business, and do other things. Whereas that one person was the 90% closer said, I'm picking up the slack for everyone else. And when I hit my number, my payout gets shared with everyone else. So why should I become a 95% or a 99% closer? There were disincentives for her to excel. So
Yeah,
my report basically said these two people should be offered other positions in the company or professionally let go on a time period that they're able to find something new, create that food business or whatever. And then there's the people in the middle that are hungry to get better. So I did coaching with each person over 10 weeks and really learned a lot about them and what they wanted. And it's remarkable. One person was actually watching Netflix all the time. Everyone knew about it. And they were kind of the dead weight on the team that if they could just cut that, everyone else would feel better because there were incentives to partner.
the joys of business.
Yes.
The joys of business.
So it was a fun experiment to help other people see that the things that they wanted to have happen, they could voice them and those things could happen.
And everything, I have the biggest, I'm going to use the wrong language here, advocate for coaches and curiosity. If you're curious, you're going to find someone that, it's a who, not a how. You can, I find that most people get into business, they're not amazing managers. They're great at their skill set and they fall into a role or into a position or tasks that they don't want to do. And managing people for the most part is not something that anybody wants to do. They're like, oh, I just need to make money. I need to do X, Y, Z. But they're forgetting they're the one driving the bus and they're the one with the control. And they can still relinquish this, and improve things, but you need to get curious. You need to bring someone else in. Just do some version of oversight.
It reminded me of the beginning of the pandemic when I had started a digital marketing agency. March 1st was a really bad time to start one of those. And the only thing I had access to was college students that had just were about to finish marketing degrees. And I did a presentation in front of the class, and the professor said that was the most unusual, remarkable presentation I've ever seen in the last 6 years. And the students in the class were competing to take on a project that I presented. And it was presented in the opposite way. And I asked the professor, I've got jobs open at my agency right now. Who can I hire? And he gives me a book and he says, this is the portfolio of all the people that can do SEO, websites, art direction, all these things. And I looked at them all. I said, perfect. I'm hiring these people. I staffed up, brought on clients, and we provided fulfillment. And these were 21, 19-year-old, well, 20, 21-year-old people that couldn't get jobs in the industry because when COVID happened, it wasn't like you could go to a regular old office and get that job.
Mm.
And I said to them every week, what's that one thing that if I put on the table as an opportunity, you would wrestle everyone else for because you know you want to learn it or you're just good at it naturally that you would say, Mark, I can't wait to do that this week. And I learned that if I gave them all the things that they wanted, the results would just chase it. But if I told them I need you to do this, I don't know, maybe they didn't want to do it or they'd resist doing it and pretended like they did it. And that wasn't fun to manage. My job is to inspire, not to manage.
Mm-hmm. You gotta let people grow. You gotta, I've always said you've got everybody sort of falls into one or two categories. You either know and you don't want to do it, or you haven't been trained on the topic. But at the end of the day, everybody's going to make mistakes. They're going to be big ones, there's going to be smaller ones, but nonetheless, there's still going to be mistakes because we're all human. But it's wherever you are in the food chain, you have intel, you've got information, you've got skills, you've got insight that you should be sharing and training, and a rising tide raises all ships. So it's the same thing in every business, in every market. But it keeps coming back. If you're not curious, if you don't want to improve the status quo, then there's going to be someone next to you that blasts past you with their business because their team is vibing and their team is excited and everybody's where they need to be. But I think from an inspirational standpoint, regardless of who you are or where you are in business or wherever it is, surround yourself with those people that know that it is possible, and people will enjoy their work.
There was a study that relates to that and supports it. And I think it said something to the effect of all the purchasing decisions that are made in B2B or even B2C, the person that gets the deal by a factor of, I think it's 42%, is the quality of the questions that they ask. And you'll get remembered for the quality of the questions. And that one thing sets the difference. If there's 10 reps, 50, 100, you'll be remembered for those questions and experiences where people would go, I never thought about that. Or thank you for asking that. And I'm not sure. And then they realize they ought to have the answer to that. And that if they want, you'd be willing to help them figure out the answers. And that's a true partnership where they go, aha, I've got this
It,
person.
you hit the nail on the head. It's not a sale, it's a partnership. With any product or anything that you do, if you manage to get it into a business or with a subscription or it's a one-off or a contracted item, you're partnering with them to improve their situation. And if your product does what it's supposed to be doing, you will get a call back. But if your product is dead weight to the business or doesn't provide any value, there's no ROI on the whole thing. You will not get a call back. And they're not the relationships you want. You want the one where it's like, look, I'm asking the questions to figure out, do you need what I've got? It sounds like no. But if you ever find that you're in this position again, 100%, let's chat. But if you're going sell, 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 crickets.
Mm. So, being someone that travels around the world like you do and having the unique accent that you do, you just reminded me of something that humans do subconsciously very quickly. After you spend a few minutes or even up to an hour with someone, even though you might not intend to, your accent, the words that you use, the tone all start to mirror the other person because you want that other person to like and trust you. And when I said partnership, I recognized I said it more of the accent of what you would say, sort of subconsciously. And that's what's interesting about us as humans is even though there's language and there's culture and there's accents, we're all looking for something similar enough that gives us the confidence that that's the other person you should be working with apart from everyone else. And you and I talked about language and accents. It's not even that, it's just how you show up and the questions that you ask. That's more important than the other pieces because I can be bad at another language, but if I'm attempting to figure it out and communicate, that other person will go, wow, you're trying hard to understand me. And
They
then
want to
that
solve the
gives you,
problem.
yes,
That's all guy, you and I both know guys and girls are very different. Guys are true problem solvers. But I think if you're going in with a sales mindset, trying to sell someone something, you've missed the boat. But if you go in with the idea, like you've said multiple times, of being of service and helping them get to the crux of what the problem is, and I have the solution for that problem, you're going to win because you're coming from a place of service where it's hard. But if you're coming from the money standpoint, yeah, you might make some money straight out the gate, but you're not getting the call back.
it's interesting that you say all that because you're making me think about a recent experience that I've had with people around three parts of the world. One in Ecuador, one in Vancouver, and one in India. Completely different accents and cultures. I knew something a little bit about South America, Latin America from having traveled to Chile and Panama. And then, going to Canada is easy for someone from the States. And I also had two roommates from India. All of those experiences that I had, I shared. And then that created the connection. They're
Mhm.
like, oh, I said, yeah, my roommate's from Mumbai. And then the other one was from Chennai. And they were like, oh, wow, you actually know that those are the current names of those places. And I was able to talk about those people and those experiences. During that one conversation, they realized I cared about them and their culture and what it's like to be in their world. That created the trust. All three of them are amazing people. I want to say clients, people that I work with on a weekly basis. And it's great because that's the connection that we have, who they are, where they want to go, where they want to travel. Both Renee and David want to go to Spain and spend time there and work from there. And a lot of the people in India are like, hey, I'd love to come to America and spend time. And the same thing for everyone else. We kind of want to be in a different place sometimes. And that's the
Mhm.
exciting part is we love where we are sometimes, but to go on a travel and an excursion, that's remarkable about what you give someone. It's not just hopping on the Concorde doesn't exist anymore, but you used to be able to have that 2 hour flight between,
Boom. I
yes,
think
the version 3 or 4, right?
boom. I think it's called boom.
Yeah.
But everybody's looking. Hey, you're right. Everybody's looking for perspective. They don't. Maybe you know it. Maybe you don't know it. But everybody is looking for it. And I have this. It's a reminder every time I'm in a plane and I look out the window and I look at the city that I'm leaving. As one, I admire the fact that it's a cool view, but the second part is I just see opportunity. And it's not until you get uncomfortable enough to have conversations like this. And maybe sometimes it's a hard conversation to have, conversation nonetheless. And you go, there's so much opportunity around you, whether it's a vertical integration, whether it's horizontal, whether it's a peer business that maybe you can help, or there's other businesses just down the road, or maybe there's another person, or maybe there's someone completely different market, and you have a conversation that's like, oh wow, I didn't even consider that or think of that as an opportunity. But I think if we're all collectively asking questions, you're going to get an insight that is like it creates it creates crazy opportunities. Put it that way. and takes your life in a whole nother direction that you probably weren't expecting.
I like that opportunistic servitude mindset that you have of I'm leaving here and I'm going somewhere else. And what is the opportunity that I see that I'm flying into or sailing into?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas others might look at where they're going and going, I'm not so sure. I'm a little concerned. I don't know what to expect. Will I be accepted? Will people like me and trust me? Whereas you're going into it going, okay, there's something here. There's something exciting. And I'm on an adventure. I was just talking to a friend named, my best friend named Aaron, and he's going to Ireland from Montreal and then spending, I think, 3.5 weeks in France with his two boys. And I said, what's the goal for the trip? And he said, see these things? I don't want them to be on. I want my kids to put them away. And I said, I just grounded a couple of my kids and I took the phones away for a few hours. And you wouldn't believe their eyes bulging out of their heads and just the shock that they were in. And I talked about the idea of dinner time. The phones are away. And he acted like that was a revolution. I was like, yeah, you can put them away from the table. They can be off. You can actually look at somebody when you're out at a restaurant or at a meal, and you don't have people walking around about to crash into each other because they're staring at their phones.
It's the interaction. We're gonna it. I don't know whether you ever sort of looked into the concept of duality. Without light, you can't have darkness without light. You can't. If it's heavy, it's got the opposite side of being wet. The list goes on.
Yeah.
But there's a law of averages when it comes to that. So I've kind of assumed that we're going to go to one extreme and it'll come back. And it's the same thing. If you're a '70s baby, I think we're the only generation that had one foot in the past, one foot in the future. We used to have to physically go up to the TV and push a button. We had
Turn
two
the
channels.
knob.
Yeah. Can you someone turn the volume up? Turn it down. I'm not getting up this time. You have to. But I think it's the same thing with phones. Like we're going through these highs and lows, and it's a curiosity thing. It's a perspective thing. It's like we can do so many analogies and tie things into everything else, but I just like the idea that everybody gets back and starts connecting again. And there's so much possibility in business and people and environments. It's like I tell my kids every single day. I said, if you can think of it, you can do it. And this yachting was the one space that sort of told me that as well. It's like there's no such thing as problems, only solutions. You just got to believe it.
Speaking about giving and contributing, if there were one nonprofit or a cause or purpose that people could donate to in your name and their name, that's a purpose that matters to you, and I could pop up the landing page or a QR code right here.
Mm.
What do you identify with that you would want other people to be aware of and maybe contribute to?
I would say they're local schools from the primary, the I can't remember. In Australia we call it different, but you're not kindergarten, you junior. What is it like?
Middle
Grades?
school, do
No, the
you
younger
have,
one. The younger one. The one the grades 1 through 5 type of deal, or one through
yeah,
six. Um,
middle school?
just giving. I think from an educational standpoint, I think the education system's absolutely archaic and terrible across the board. It doesn't matter what it is. Um, but I see people trying to make changes, and it's really difficult for teachers to make any changes in the system. One, with their own living circumstances, but especially for the families and kids that are coming in there, because there's families that don't have anything. I was there before. When you're able to give something without expecting anything in return, it's cool.
So cool.
Damn you, Mark.
Where does that come from in you?
Because I've been there.
Tell me more.
Oh, another time.
Okay. Wow. We all have like an experience. Some people call it a hurt or a trauma or a wound or just something that they want to pay forward. I think that's kind of the track that some people choose to be on is I can get up and I can do something, I can serve, I can get up and I can take, or some people will just not even get up at all and just expect everything to be delivered by Publishers Clearinghouse or Amazon or some other thing. Like they're waiting on their couch because they think the ship is going to come in and it's going to grab them and they're going to have that glorious life experience. Well, you don't get on the boat unless you do the work and you go out and you search for your purpose and then you find someone that can help you figure out how. And that's
We
the,
learn, we're guys. We're guys and girls. We learn through by making mistakes. And if you're not allowed to make a mistake, you can't move forward. And it creates your own environment. The perspective is, I've seen both ends of the stick. I've seen affluence that, I'm talking very few people will ever see. And I've seen poverty from that again, some people will never see. And there's there's humility in seeing both sides of it, but there's an understanding as well that, not everybody's got it as lucky as you have. And you take that for granted. I know my kids are. Like it's not that I'm spoiling them. I'm trying to give them experiences and teach them to be great humans, but I know that there's stuff that that they'll never have lived the way I have or what I've given up. But their trials and tribulations will be different to mine. But I think from the standpoint of just knowing what I've been through and just seeing what people go through on a day-to-day basis, if there's any way that, and again, I still have to pull my finger out for this one. I got my own, demons and issues that I have to deal with in your normal family stuff. But to go back to it, I think if there's a way to support people where they are, um, regardless of I like seeing kids know that there's hope and opportunity.
I was talking with the guy a couple days ago that had the barrel of a gun in his mouth and he was about to pull the trigger and he realized that there was a purpose for him and he needed to serve it. There was another guy that I worked with that was dealing with sobriety, and he just knew if he didn't stop with the drugs and the alcohol, 16 would be his top age and he would be capped out. For me, 2020 was the best year of my life, and 2019 was the worst. I went from everything to nothing. I had $1 million home, the greatest job that I ever thought I would have, 4 kids, married. I lost my 4 kids for 14 months. I had to walk away from the job, the marriage, the home. I had to lose everything and be in the darkest hole until I realized I actually had everything. I was lacking faith and I was lacking a purpose and connection. And once I took a step into faith, seconds later, within 30 seconds, the answer to having my kids come back to me was given. And I got custody again of them. And I didn't realize that I was lacking faith. And I needed to look in my heart and see, use the word demons. What are the things that I don't know or hear that they can be revealed to me and I can work through them and let them go and become a new man and a new father. And I'm remarried and be the husband that I'm supposed to be and teach people this mindset of close with one. It's kind of closing with curiosity. It's closing with the one that's behind everything. And I don't know why I'm doing this other than I feel like I'm supposed to do it for others, not for myself. And I love that you shared your stories today. And I didn't know where this was going to go. It's not scripted. It's just we share stories.
I haven't done that, but you asked the question. I was like, oh, dang. Wasn't expecting it to invoke that emotion.
Man, it's been amazing Luke, having you on today's podcast. Thank you so much for sharing your stories.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's always, I think, for me specifically, um, the the opportunities I've been given a lot of like amazing opportunities. I can't deny that. It's not, I've had to work hard to get them, but I wish I had, people like yourself and myself being able to share their stories and their thoughts and try and put it in context so it can be relatable to give people, be curious about challenging your own thoughts and going after opportunities. It's like I kind of felt like I was blazing my own trail. Um, so it's a great opportunity to at least put it out there. If someone listens to it and gets something from it, hey, that's a massive win.
It is.